guys! Today we are talking about Legend by Marie Lu. I know a lot of people in the booktubing community have talked about this book already. That's how I actually heard about this series. I would have never actually known about this series if it wasn't for all you guys and for Goodreads and all the great book resources that are out there. It was great. I picked this book up because I had heard it's really good for people who like Divergent. So this is going to be the non-spoilery section, and then there will be a spoiler section, but I will alert you when that part comes up. Marie Lu is just one of the most talented authors I have ever read, mostly for her ability to create two separate point of views and not make it drive me crazy, because most of the time when there are two separate point of views in a story, or even multiple point of views in a story, I find it's very distracting, and I don't get the same understanding of the characters as I would if it was one solid point of view. But Marie Lu creates these two very distinct characters with two very distinct personalities who have such a rich personality that it comes through in basically half a book, because the book is split up into two separate point of views and they switch back and forth. Each character only gets to tell half the book, and it's not that big of a book. And yet, I have such a great understanding of Day and June that I don't feel like it distracted from anything in the story. I'm gonna get more into the characters in the spoilery section, but just to let you get a brief synopsis of the story, there are two main characters, Day and June, and they start off the story not knowing each other. So June is a prodigy of the Republic, and Day is a legendary criminal. He's the most wanted criminal in the Republic for many crimes that he's committed. So they don't get to know each other until, and I'm not spoiling anything when I say this because it's in the dust jacket, their stories don't get to entwine until Day is suspected of murdering June's brother. And so she goes on a wild chase to try and catch this criminal that the Republic has never been able to catch. And then along the way, she starts to find out how corrupt her society really is. So that is a little brief synopsis of the book. So on Goodreads, I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. The only problem that I had with it was the fact that I felt it was a little rushed because it's such a small length. And the fact that even though a lot happens in the book, I feel like we didn't get to know a lot. I'm still left with a lot of questions. However, that's a series thing. Your questions get answered down the line. Prodigy is already out, which is the second book in the series, and I grabbed it the day I finished Legend. However, I'd already started Willow, and that's going to have a book review soon as well because I finished that last night. If you have not read this book, I highly recommend grabbing it, especially if you like Divergent and the Hunger Games. And also be on the lookout for a review on Willow. And yeah, come back when you have read Legend and we can get into all the nitty-gritty about it. This is the spoilery section. This is my last warning. If you have not read this book, please click out. So this is where I keep all my handy-dandy notes. Inside Alabaster the Owl. My boyfriend bought him for me and I love it. First things first, so let's talk about the characters, Day and June. To me, and I think the whole idea is like what happens if you took two people who are exactly the same and forced them to grow up in completely separate environments? Because both of them are prodigies. Both of them are, extremely intelligent, extremely agile, very perfect people for the Republic. Yet June, because she was raised in a very wealthy environment and just was given the resources to become a full-on prodigy for the Republic, she became this hero. And then Day, who is this legendary criminal in the eyes of the Republic, he's also a prodigy. He got a 1500 on his trials. He got a 1500 on them, and yet he's a criminal. He grew up in a poor family, and I'm not entirely sure on why. Does anyone know why they just picked him to experiment on as a prodigy instead of creating him into this great hero like they did to June? I don't completely get that. It boggles my mind that instead of wouldn't the Republic want more prodigies? I just feel like it would be a greater asset to have multiple of them so they could fight against the colonies, but that's just me, I guess. They take Day and they experiment on him. They take tissue out of his eyes, they like slow down his heart and to see how low his heart rate can go. They take tissue from his knee. They were testing to see how he's so agile and how his sight is so sharp. He talks a lot about that in his point of view. When he jumps off the building and talks about how his vision sharpens and everything. So I feel like they were experimenting on him so they could try and figure out how he has these abilities and then maybe create better soldiers. And my only thought on it is the reason they picked him is because he's poor and comes from the Lake District, so no one will miss him as much as someone would miss June. So they just say he fails, and then they can experiment on him to try and create an army of prodigies, I guess. It makes me so angry, because they're the same person, but because of the environments they grew in and their influence over the Republic, they are completely different people. I have another question. Who exactly are the Patriots? Like, I understand they're this anti-Republic group. Do they come from the colonies? I was confused about that. Do they work with the colonies, or are they just against the Republic? I get they're this, like, very wealthy group of adversaries, but because they have all that money, and when June said she was going to give Katie all of that money, she was like, oh, this is just a drop in the bucket for the Patriots. And I was like, oh my god, how do they have so much money? Are they like the mafia? But the mafia was very much in like drug dealing. So, I mean, maybe they're selling drugs to get all their money. But I'm trying to wrap my head around how the Patriots are set up, if they're like a mob or if they're more like a militia, like the modern day militias where the people are fighting against the government, or if they're kind of more on the ends of the Sons of Liberty where they are fighting for what they believe is right. However, the Sons of Liberty always did more civil disobedience than violence. So we heard about the Patriots throughout the entire book, but we never really got to see like the inner workings of the Patriots. So we got a little insight on the Patriots at the end of the book, but I feel like hopefully Prodigy, I haven't read it yet, but hopefully Prodigy will give more insight into the Patriots. Who knows? When they threw the Patriots again, when they threw the money during Day's execution, was that June's money? Were they just throwing it as like a distraction or a civil act of disobedience to be like, here, this is your government's money, take it, they're just robbing you blind, take your money, like, was it just, I just thought that was so clever, I don't know. And then, when Jameson, oh my god, I cannot stand Jameson, she drives me crazy. But when she shouts, like, make sure the square is broadcasting during the execution, I'm like, is it really that necessary? Like, does the Republic have to know that Day is dead? And then Day's not dead, and they broadcast them killing John, because he wanders back, blindfolded, limping, pretending to be Day, so they bring him out and kill him, thinking it's Day, and then someone had to find out when they were dragging him back that this is John, this is not Day, like, we didn't kill him. And yet they're still broadcasting the execution of John, saying it's Day. So that was crazy to me that they would go so far to falsify the execution just to keep their image and reputation as very put together government. And I mean, no one's ever done that before, but still, it's just crazy. At the end, they talk about the fact that there are rumors going around that Day's not dead, that Day escaped death again, but those are just rumors. The Republic is taught to believe that Day is this very, very dangerous criminal. So what if someone like sees him and they freak out because he's this criminal and they're just letting him go? I mean, they're probably looking for him, but just, I don't know, I don't know. Overall, just my biggest question is why? Because, I mean, obviously I already told you my theory about why they chose Day to experiment on, even though he's a prodigy. But that's just my biggest question right now, because we don't know for sure until Marie tells us, but why? Why did they fail him? That's my biggest question. Definitely this book definitely gives you the inner lookings into a very, very corrupt government. I very much enjoyed it. It reminded me a lot of 1984, if 1984 had more military basings, and oh, it's just crazy. Dystopians, I love reading them, but they make me feel like my skin is crawling afterwards, because I hate to sound like a crazy person, but it's just stepping stones that lead up to these dystopians, because they all start off as us, and then they just become these crazy dystopians. Make me a little on edge. And I love them anyway. So as I said earlier, my next review is going to be of Willow by Julia Hoban. It's very different from Legend. It is a contemporary novel, and I very, very much enjoyed that, and that will be coming up soon. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, and see you guys soon.